Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, we're back in the Mojave. Unfortunately, the Commonwealth wasn't loving on us, so OBS for some reason just does not want to support my Fallout 4. So we're gonna roll a New Vegas, and I am still trying to get to these group of people without Deathclaws, Cazadors, or Scorpions killing me. Today's stories are the mysterious disappearance and deaths of the Jamison family, and then the mysteries of the Colonial Parkway murders. So let's jump in. Let's jump on in. Let's dive in. And now I'm at a completely different angle, so just bear with me as I try to cope with this and remember where my camera is and shit. So okay. I just moved my chair a weird way. It's all out of whack. Okay. So the Jamison family is actually a pretty recent occurrence, and that it okay, so I can look at the tiny screen, I can look at the big screen. I'll look at the tiny screen. It matches with the camera. Anyways, the Jamison family, so October 8th, 2009, you have Bobby, Cheryl, and their little 6-year-old Madison. And unfortunately, they are last seen checking out a big plot of property in Oklahoma by one man. He said nobody was with them. It was just them. And then that's it. That's the last they were seen. 3 days later, on the 16th, not 3 days. That's way more than 3 days. Anyways, like a week later, on the 16th, they are last seen. They aren't seen. Some hunters come across their truck, and inside their truck is their poor dog, and who's incredibly malnourished, of course. Their purses, their wallets, GPS, jackets, and under the seat, a duffel bag of $32,000. Just chilling. Oh, and their phones. So just pretty much anything you need to be a human is in their truck. And their poor puppers. Aww. So what happened to the family? We don't know. No trace of the family. No footprints. No nothing. So they, oh crap. Oh crap. There's yeah. I like this thing. Oh, I leveled up. Again. Come at me. Come at me, rad scorpion. You bastard. Oh, there's two. There's two. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. He got me. He poisoned me. Oh, circle. Oh, I died. Dang it. Oh, that was a good run. That was... I really thought I had it that time. Anyways, sorry. So, unfortunately, no sign of the family. So the cops look into the GPS and they see that it was actually set a little more up the road than where the truck is. So they go to that spot and they find some footprints. They bring in like 300 people to search the area, and they just come up with nothing. This is nothing. So then fast forward to November 16th, and once again, hunters are out in the woods doing their hunting thing, and they find, unfortunately, partial skeletons of 3 people. And then it was found that it's the Jamison family, and including the little girl, which is super depressing. The cops also found that there was a missing briefcase and missing gun. Like, those things should have been with the family, and they weren't. They also, when checking the house, found tapes of them leaving that morning on the 9th, being really weird. Like, they were in a trance. They described it as being in a trance-like state, and that you could even see them stop and just stand and then start doing what they're doing. And, like, clearly they're not talking to each other. They're just doing their thing. I mean, it is before sunrise. I'm not going to say I'm the most chattiest person in the morning, but, so here's where you get to the theories, the weird, what happens, okay? So very first theory is just that they got lost and they died. Which is depressing, but I feel like just gives me more questions. Like, if the family had the forethought enough to pack all that is necessary to go check out land in the woods, and they are clearly a family who wants to live in the woods, they were going to live in a container, you know, one like that goes on the back of an 18-wheeler. They want to live in that, and they already own that. Now they're going to get the land to put that on. So it just, to me, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would they have not taken that stuff with them? And how would they have gotten lost? And you have the people who will be like, well, you know, something was wrong with them, as in the trance-like state. And I guess the wife before all this was having erratic behavior. Her mother even said she came to pick her up one day and then just in the middle of the road looked at her mom and said, get the fuck out of my car, and like kicked her mom out on the side of the road. So the wife was having a little weird incidences. But I don't know. I just feel like they weren't, I don't know. Like, even in their weird trance-like state, they brought everything they needed, plus money. I just feel like something got them out of that car without all their stuff because they trusted what was happening, and they weren't planning on going hiking, you know? So then the next theory, and the one that is why I was looking up creepy family stories because I was going to do ghost stories, and theirs falls under that. This family, the wife truly believed that their house was haunted by 3 to 4 different spirits, and she had a witchcraft Bible, apparently, that she had just bought. Apparently, she told her mother it was a joke, but the husband went to his priest and told him about it because he felt guilty about reading the devil's work. And I guess the wife was even trying to, you know, expel the demons from her home, the spirits from her home. And when that wasn't working, that's why they wanted to move. So then some people theorize that they had been possessed, and that was why they were acting weird. And that's how they ended out in the woods. I personally, I mean, yeah, maybe she did have spirits, or believe she had spirits. I totally believe in spirits, don't get me wrong. I don't believe she was possessed, and that those spirits just led her out into the woods with her family. You know, like, it's weird. And I don't love how in these small towns so often, if you even have an inkling towards something that just isn't Christianity, it's just like straight up devil's work, you know? And I just find that to be a bit much. You know, like, they just always make out like something's super wrong with these families. And it's almost like the same as they could have found needles in her arms, and, you know, they always, oh, they're druggies. It's almost like that. They had witches' Bibles. I don't love this theory. I'll be obvious, for obvious reasons. Now, hold your pants here for this real unbelievable theory. And for some reason, whenever I looked at this family, was like a theory that was like last on the list. The father-in-law. Hear me out here. I know. Were trying to get a restraining order against him because the man threatened to kill them on multiple occasions, and even allegedly ran over the son with his car. His other sons who were standing up for him even said, yeah, that was crazy, but he wasn't necessarily killed. Like, even they couldn't be like, no, our dad's a quiet, lovely old man and our brother's just a psychopath. No, even they were like, well, yeah, dad's fucking insane, but, you know, I don't think he'd actually kill a whole family, you know? Like, and then, so the judge denied their case. I think they were trying to run from the father-in-law, and that's why they were trying to get the fuck out of there. apparently it was money issues, which is maybe where they got the money, because no one knew where they got the $32,000 from. These two people were both on disability. Neither of them worked. So unless they themselves had gotten into the drug dealing, there's no way they could have. There's like no reason for that, which is another theory, is that if the father-in-law didn't take them out to execute them, that they themselves were either drug dealing or drug using, and this was a deal or whatever just gone wrong. I don't love this theory just because the money was still there. Why would anybody leave $32,000 cash just laying there unless you didn't know it was there, you know? Unfortunately, no one could question why the father-in-law too much, because the man died like a couple days after the family died. So I don't know. Maybe it was his last deed, you know? Or maybe they seriously injured him. They didn't say how he died, you know? Like, who knows? But unfortunately, that's the whole mystery. Oh, cult. That in the woods they were walking, they ran into a cult. Apparently, the wife's name was found on a cult's hit list. This cult was known for going after people who got in the way of white supremacists. This story to me just had a lot of holes in it, but the area is known for its culty behaviors. The cops just said, but not many cults have been heard from in a while, so they could or could not be there. And maybe that it's kind of fucked up of any cult to just be like, hey, you're in my land, killing your kid. At least steal the kid and like raise him in your cult. I don't know if that's much better, but you know. Can I win? Killing all scorpions. Nah, I'm not gonna win. Okay. So that one, unfortunately, short and sweet. Family goes out into the woods. Was it drugs? Was it daddy? Was it ghost? We'll never know. We don't know. I don't think it was ghost, though. I think we can say it wasn't ghost. Call me crazy. All right, now the Colonial Parkway murders. Heading on to my home state, Virginia. And the Colonial Parkway is located in Yorktown. It connects Yorktown and Jamestown, I think. So the first murders happened on October 9th. And it was 27-year-old Kathy and 21-year-old Rebecca. And Kathy was actually a part of the second class of women to get into the Navy. So that was awesome. Unfortunately, the year is 1986, and homosexuality, not welcome here. It was not welcome, and especially in the military, they were actively hunting you down to see if they could get you kicked out. And unfortunately, she had been investigated. Now, she was not convicted or anything like that, but it did, when her papers came, her 4 years were over, she went ahead and got out of there, and became a stock market person. And then her girlfriend Rebecca was going to the College of William and Mary, and that's why she was in the area. They were last seen at the college printing papers. Rebecca was actually getting her stuff ready to go home, which is why they suspect that the couple was hanging out that night, and was on this path, because this path is a known lover's lane. Search. So they think because this couple was trying to, get a little privacy, that's where they went. Because Rebecca's car was found with all the stuff in it that she needed to leave. And it was like it was never touched. So nobody knows what happened to him that unfortunate night. But 3 days later, a jogger sees a car kind of hanging off. And you got to think of this road, because it's 2 lanes and it's right by a river. the area kind of dips down a bit. It's not, so the car was like hanging off. And so the cops come and they think it's just a car accident, and they check, and unfortunately the two women's bodies were found in the back seat. They had been strangled, had their throats cut, and had diesel fuel poured on them in a possible attempt to burn the bodies in the car. And I guess when that didn't work, he tried to push it over the side. He or she, we don't know who did it. So when they found this stuff, it was a clear indication of like super overkill, which usually happens in cases of passion, which made them immediately look at the exes. So, but Kathy's ex-girlfriend is the one who introduced her to Rebecca, so she had no animosity, and Rebecca's ex-boyfriend just had a really great alibi of he wasn't even in the state at the time. So it definitely wasn't the exes. This caused them to bring in the FBI, and the BAU was just being formed at this time. So they get involved, and they bring in that, let me go ahead and say this too. There was no sexual assault and no sign of robbery. Like, the girls' stuff was there. Their wallets open, like everything, money, keys, and like it was all still there. So they obviously weren't trying to rob them, and there was no sign of sexual assault. So it really did become a case of like, where is the motive? And that leads you to, well, an ex, a jilted lover. Well, that didn't pan out. So the BAU comes in, and they're like, okay, the line they were choked with, you find this on boats. They were attempted to be burned with diesel fuel. What uses diesel fuel most of all? Yes, big trucks, but also boats. They had their throat slashed by an obviously bigger knife. Who uses bigger knives? Fishermen to cut the fish. So they started looking at like nautical people. And there's a ton in the area, a lot of water here. So, but they came out with no leads. The FBI also put in their back pocket, possibly, were they pulled over? Was someone impersonating an officer? Did an officer? Because their wallets were out. So that tells you, one, these women had no defensive wounds at all. So whoever got to them, they trusted enough, at least in some moments, to just get out of the car, to open their wallets up. Why would you open your wallet? Who walks up to your car and asks for your ID? Oh, officers do that. So, but they didn't put that out there. That was not public. They didn't even tell the cops that was just a little hidey in the back pocket. We're just going to put that thought there. And unfortunately, their case went cold. Nothing else was ever found. So fast forward to September now of 87. We have Robin, who was 14, and David, 20. Robin and David met because Robin was actually going on a date with David's cousin. But she wasn't having an awesome time. And so when she was driving home, at some point in that 20-minute ride home, she must have talked to David, and they must have decided to sneak out together. Well, David's 20. He doesn't have to sneak out. He just left. So, but she got home. She called her parents at like 11:30 and be like, yep, I'm home. And then she immediately, I guess, snuck right back out and went out with David to the Colonial Parkway on a lover's lane situation. And unfortunately, poor Robin has a really sad story. Apparently, she was a known runaway. She was known to run away often. She had apparently been sexually active since she was 11. Her with a 21-year-old, which just made me be like, times were not that different. I don't know how her parents did not get called out on that at all. And apparently, a lot of news stories from back then actually demonized her. And I was just like, that poor girl she was a child. Like, oh my God. And I think it says a lot. I'd be looking at her dad hard, because that just screams sexual abuse was happening in that home for her to be already having sex that early, rebelling so bad, running away. Like, that just screams I have a fucked up home life. But anyways, unfortunately, first their truck would be found. No. Back up a little bit. The next morning, it's Sunday now. So Saturday was the date night. Sunday, her parents wake up. They see she's not there. But her dad does see that her clothes are still there. So a part of him is like, well, she'll come back. Like I said, she's known for running away, unfortunately. So, but mom isn't quite as secure on this. She's like, I kind of want to call the cops anyways. So she calls them, and these mother effers go, call us back Monday. We're not in the office right now. What? Terrible. Terrible. But the mom's like, I guess, and, you know, what else are you going to do when the cops tell you we don't care? And of course, David's parents aren't thinking too much any of it either, because dude's 20. Not all 20-year-olds come home every night, you know? But on Monday, while Robin's parents are making their missing person report, David's truck is being found by rangers. And the windshield wipers are going. The key has it on to, not fully on, like the whole engine's on, but just like the battery's on, you know? And I just gave myself a weird little hair thing. You know what? I can't. I was going to be like, roll with it. No, don't roll with that. Okay, just no hair. We'll do that. So the rangers, in finding this, are like, just take his truck home. I'm sure he's... Okay, once again, wallets, keys, shoes, shirts in the car. So the rangers come upon this and they're like, they must be skinny dipping. Let me repeat this date to you. September 20th, the end of September, in Virginia. We're cold by then. I mean, not like frigid. It ain't fucking snowing, but it is not skinny dipping weather, especially at midnight. And they checked the weather. It was 40 degrees the night before. Nobody's fucking skinny dipping in that. Not, especially a man. Not a man in the world is going to be like, I want to get laid. Let me have my dick shrivel up. It's never going to happen. That was a dumb theory. And David's mother knew it, because she was like, 1, what? 2, David would never abandon his truck. He loved his truck, and he didn't even have to keep it idle for the radio to be on. That was the cop saying, he had it like that so they could hear the music, but she was like, his truck didn't have to. He hooked his radio straight to the battery, so all he'd have to do is push the power button, so he wouldn't have to do shit like that. So mama was like, no, I don't believe it. So her and her husband are like, we'll go fucking look for him. So they go looking. Unfortunately, they don't find anything. And it's a couple days later when some joggers, once again, are the ones to find the bodies. They were in the river, bloated. The girl, Robin, had been shot in the back of her head. David was shot in the back and in the shoulder. Looks like he was trying to run from the situation of whatever was happening. And, okay, now I know Cazadors are down here, sorry. Do I even have I don't even think I have a stim pack. Pause. I gotta make sure I'm trying not to die. So, and of course, he's missing his shirt. She has her shirt pulled up, her pants pulled down. She does have signs of sexual activity. We'll have to say activity because, unfortunately, while she does have signs of sexual activity versus both vaginally and anally, there's no way to prove if it was David or the killer. So, you know. So as they're examining the bodies, they actually, for this case, do have a really good suspect. And okay, so one, let me go ahead and say this. They have not connected these cases at all. These are still two very separate cases. The FBI is working on the one case. State police are working on this case. Okay? And then, so there was actually a drug dealer named Mr. Washington that the cops suspected. He knew both of them, and he actually was known for kind of being pissed at Robin already because she didn't want to hook up with him. So, and he didn't appreciate that because he felt, one, nobody should be saying no to him, and two, she does it with everyone else, so why can't he get a ride? You know, the typical stuff. So, he was also known to freaking A. Yeah. Anyways, he was known to sodomize. Like, that was his favorite position. If you were doing it with him, you were getting it in the bum. Man or woman. And he was known to rape, too. So the cops were trying to stake him out, find something, and they found a man who was willing. He was terrified of the man because he had already raped him. But he was willing to testify against him. Unfortunately, the day before he was supposed to come in and, like, actually record shit and stuff, they found that he had fallen asleep on some train tracks, which nobody does that. So I would say, so unfortunately, they have nothing on Mr. Washington to actually bring him in. He is the best and really only suspect of these two. And I'd say, since she has signs of sodomy, actually kind of a good suspect. Kind of a good suspect. But also, once again, wallets out, IDs out, where the car was pulled over does make you think, well, could it have been the drug dealer coming to give them some drugs and then taking over the situation? But also, are these cases connected? And when the FBI put that little, could this be an officer idea in their back pocket, could that also be for this one too? Because, you know, once again, we're getting a lot of things. But unfortunately, their case also goes cold. So, we are now in April of 1988. And unfortunately, another death happens. So we have Keith and Cassandra. And Keith had asked Cassandra out on a date. But Cassandra, while she did say yes, she was actually in a secret interracial relationship. Once again, we're in 1988 in Virginia. Not illegal, but hugely frowned upon. And her mom knew she was with the other boy, but told her to be very careful and had warned her about that. So she even thinks she only went on the date with Keith to keep face, you know, that she's single. But the kids at the party even said that, you know, everything, they barely talked. It was clearly not going great, the date. And they even left the party early, presumably to go home, but nobody ever saw them again. So, unfortunately, this story gets a little weird, I guess, in the fact that, so for them, so they're officially heading home. Case, we don't know what's happening to them. Go dark on their scene. Open the scene to his brother is coming home from Richmond, and he is coming down. It's like 5 a.m. and he's coming down the road, and he sees this van just hightail it right out of the woods, like whee, right behind him. He's like, "Holy shit, dude! Why are you doing like 90?" The van is just like coming. He's like, "Marr." He's like, "What the fuck, man?" But he keeps going because he's like, "I ain't getting another ticket. There's a lot of rangers and cops on this road. No way." So he keeps going, and as he's going straight, he sees a red car that looks a lot like his brother's. And he notices this to go, "Hey, that looks like Keith's car." But in no way or shape or form did he think, maybe I should stop. Because, you know, if it is, it's probably not him. And then if it is him, he's probably getting laid. Why would I stop? That's weird. He notices the van that was speeding behind him, sees the red car, slows down, whips a shitty, and goes back to the red car. He keeps moving, obviously. So did he actually see the killer? No. A couple hours pass by. Keith's dad now is heading to work, and he sees Keith's car. And being a father, he's like, "That's my fucking kid's car." Skirt! Pull over. He notices that the passenger side door is ajar. No keys, but all their shit's in the car. some shoes, some clothes, wallets out with IDs and stuff. Once again, weird. And he's like, this is fucking weird, but maybe they're just walking around. So he like leaves the car, and like an hour later, the Rangers are now calling it in as a missing person type situation. And the FBI hears this over the radio, and they're like, whoa, why aren't we being called in? We're already working a case like this in that same fucking area. We should be involved in this. Well, in all that, they find out that when Keith's dad gets there, he's like, wait a minute, the keys weren't in the ignition and the glove box wasn't open when I was here like an hour ago. I think the killer was here. And that's when the Rangers had to go, well, that was actually us. We came upon the scene. We assumed some kids were, getting it on in the woods. We grabbed their stuff and their keys to go give it to them. We never found them, so we brought all this stuff back and tried to recreate the scene the best we could. This is how we found it. And then when the FBI showed up, they shut down on the FBI. They did not want the FBI's help. The FBI was like, why are you shutting down on us? Being pretty sus, bro. That's a lot of sus activities. So, because once again, remember, the FBI aren't working that middle case. So this would be their second case. They already in their minds, who do you open a glove compartment for? Who do you pull your IDs out for? Who would you feel comfortable just pulling over for? A fucking cop. And now you cops are giving us the cold shoulder? It's weird. Their families even said this whole situation seems wrong because the Rangers were like, their kids, they stopped to get laid and shit went wrong. Unfortunately, their bodies were never found. These guys, unfortunately. They even brought in dogs. They never found theirs. But the family was like, they would not do that at all. Once again, Cassandra had a boyfriend. She was not interested in Keith. They had no chemistry at the party to even make you think, well, maybe she wanted to cheat on her boyfriend. Even Keith's family said he found that road gross, that he didn't want that. And even his ex-girlfriend's like, he wouldn't even do that with her, So why would he do this with this one girl? They're on their first date together. It doesn't match. The only reason they would have pulled over on that road is because a cop pulled them over or because they saw someone who needed help. And unfortunately, the FBI in this one, because they were involved, they even tried they saw that a Russian satellite was over the area at the time, and they tried to get in contact with Russia, and they were like, look, man, we'll sign anything. We don't even care. We only need these couple minutes, just a couple minutes, just to see this one spot. No questions asked, no nothing. But Russia was, of course, like, get the fuck out of our face. Like, no. So, unfortunately, Russia may be the only people who actually know what happened that night. There was one suspect that he was known as a peeping Tom in the area, but they ended up clearing him. So, unfortunately, now we're back to cold case, no evidence. And this brings us to our very last case, and this happened Labor Day weekend of 1989. These two were actually on 64, so their case doesn't always get put with the other ones, but it was more like a brother-in-law, sister-in-law situation. The girl was dating the one guy's brother. Her family lived in Virginia Beach, and he was going to be moving in with his brother, so he needed to go back to Virginia Beach to get some stuff. So she was like, I'll go with you. I'll see my family. I'll help you pack. Then we'll go all live together. And it was like, yay. So unfortunately, they were never fucking seen again. And her family was expecting her. So her family starts driving up 64 when like 2 a.m. expecting to see her. They never even see the cars. So they turn around and they go. The next day, the cops do find the car at a rest stop, but on like the on-ramp. Like he was getting back on the interstate from the rest stop. And oddly enough, it was going westbound instead of eastbound. So he's going the complete wrong direction where he should have been. And once again, wallets out, clothes, everything is there. They're just not there. And then, of course, they find their bodies a couple days later in the woods. kind of same MO. With them, there was one good case suspect of a guy who knew where they were going and wanted to take their money because he had apparently just come into some money. And he was also like an avid hunter, so he would know how to get them out of their car. They would trust him. He would know how to navigate the woods, to put them in the woods. But it didn't pan out, and they also go with this case, even though they're technically like an hour away from the Colonial Parkway. So that FBI theory is probably, I think, the best theory. The cops to this day don't officially connect these cases at all. They never wanted to say there was a serial killer there, and they still don't technically say it. And they say one of their strongest reasons is because two of the cases do have really strong suspects. They just don't have anything on them, which I kind of agree with. But I also think that whole it's a cop theory is super, super strong, or fake cop. There was rumors, local rumors going around of a woman even said she was pulled over it was a white car with a blue light on top. But it made her feel hinky, so she hightailed it. She was like, fuck it, they'll arrest me later, but I don't fucking trust this shit, so I'm out. So no one ever came to arrest her, so she told the police about it and her friends about it to all be careful, and the cops even had to put out, like, hey, if cops pulling you over, don't roll the window down all the way, don't get out of the car until you've seen their badge number and all this stuff. Had to put out a whole safety announcement about it. I think, personally, what we saw here was a killer's first kill with the girls, of it being just because they thought it was a hate crime at first. I think he just saw an opportunity and he fucking went for that shit, and he debacled it all up because it was his first fucking kill. I think the second one went a little bit better. He tried to get some gun action in, and the guy tried to run and stuff. And then I think by the third one, with us not finding anybody's at all, I think by then he'd perfected it. The only one I think the ones on 64 on the interstate, I think they might actually not be involved. Just because they were a whole hour away. But you never know, by then, maybe he did get a job. Maybe by then he was fucking state police patrolling 64. But it's also weird to me that it was only 4 in a 4-year span. Which another theory comes up of, was it a William and Mary student who was doing this, who was pretending to be a cop, getting these deaths, and then because they graduated and presumably moved home or moved for work, were they done, or did they just perfect their MO and kill even more? We may never know, man. We may never know. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please hit like, hit subscribe. Give me ideas of anything else you guys might want to hear, or if you heard even better theories on this stuff, please let me know. And thanks again. I swear I'm going to get past these Deathclaws one day, and I actually may even be just starting a new game altogether. I don't know. We'll see what happens.